Look at these photos. Empty parking lots, shattered glass, going out of business signs draped over buildings that once defined the American skyline. This isn't a scene from a post-apocalyptic movie. This is the reality of Sears. Before Amazon sent a single package, before Walmart dominated the suburbs, there was Sears. They didn't just sell products, they sold the American dream. They built the tallest building in the world just to show they could. They were the undisputed kings of the world, and yet they lost it all. Was it the internet that killed them? Was it Walmart? Or was it something much more sinister happening inside their own boardroom? Today, we're uncovering the brutal, calculated destruction of an American icon. Living in rural Nebraska in 1890. You're living in rural Nebraska in 1890. You're miles from the nearest city. How do you get a sewing machine, a shotgun, a goddamn house? You open the Sears catalog. It was known as the Consumer's Bible. This 500-page book brought the world to the doorstep of every isolated farm in America. But the catalog wasn't just a book. It was a weapon that destroyed local monopolies. If a local general store was overcharging for nails, Sears sold them for half the price. This was the first time in history that big city prices reached the small-town man. And soon, Sears would use that power to build an empire that no one, not even the government, could stop. By the 1920s, Sears realized the world was changing. People had cars. They weren't just staying on farms, they were moving to suburbs. Sears did something genius. They moved from the mailbox to the mall. They built massive department stores that became the anchors of every American shopping center. If you were a man in the 1950s, you bought your Craftsman tools at Sears. If you were a mother, you bought your Kenmore appliances at Sears. Sears wasn't just a store. It was the backbone of the middle class. In 1973, they cemented their dominance by building the Sears Tower in Chicago, the tallest building on Earth. It was a 110-story middle finger to the rest of the retail world. They were so big, they started buying stock brokerage firms and insurance companies like Allstate. They weren't just selling socks. They were selling security, homes, and futures. While Sears executives were sipping champagne in the Sears Tower, a storm was brewing in rural Arkansas. A man named Sam Walton was opening small, ugly stores in rural towns. Sears ignored Walmart. They thought they were too prestigious for the discount market. But Sam Walton wasn't just building stores. He was building a logistics machine that could undercut Sears on every single item. In the 1980s, the American consumer shifted. They no longer wanted the social status of a Sears credit card. They wanted more for their dollar. Sears looked at Walmart and laughed, calling them discount junk. It was the laugh of a king who didn't realize the guillotine was already being sharpened. Sears became bureaucratic. They had thousands of executives in expensive suits who cared more about their corporate perks than the price of a toaster. Let's look at 1997. Jeff Bezos was working in a cramped office with a spray-painted Amazon.com sign. Sears, meanwhile, had billions in cash. They had the most sophisticated logistics network in the world. They had the data of millions of customers from their catalog days. Sears should have been Amazon before Amazon existed. But look at their websites. Amazon's 1997 site was simple, fast, and focused on one thing: getting you a book. Sears? Their digital strategy was a mess. They treated the internet like a digital brochure, not a marketplace. They were afraid that if they sold things cheaper online, they would hurt their physical stores. They chose to protect their past instead of inventing their future. While Amazon was perfecting the one-click buy, Sears was still trying to figure out how to get their internal departments to stop fighting over who got the credit for a sale. In 2004, a billionaire hedge fund manager named Eddie Lampert orchestrated a merger between Sears and Kmart. Wall Street hailed him as the next Warren Buffett. They thought he would use his financial genius to save the brand. They were wrong. Lampert didn't run Sears like a retailer. He ran it like a spreadsheet. He famously stayed in his mansion in Miami, running the company via video conference. But the most controversial move was psychological. He split Sears into 30 autonomous business units. If you worked in the tools department, you were literally discouraged from talking to the appliance department. It was a corporate Hunger Games. Departments had to bid against each other for floor space in their own stores. Imagine a ship where the engine room is trying to sink the deck, just to prove they are more efficient. That was Sears under Lampert. Employees began to notice something strange. Lampert wasn't investing in the stores. The carpets were stained, the roofs were leaking. Some stores didn't even have working air conditioning in the summer. Why would a billionaire let his own stores fall apart? Because the retail business wasn't the goal. The real goal was the real estate. Sears owned billions of dollars worth of land. Lampert began spinning off the properties into a separate company he controlled. He was selling the silver to pay for the dinner, and he was the one buying the silver. By the time 2018 arrived, Sears was a ghost of its former self. They filed for bankruptcy with billions in debt. The Amazon of the 1900s was dead. Today, there are only a handful of Sears stores left. A century of history, wiped out by a combination of arrogance, corporate greed, and an inability to change. The brands that Sears built, Craftsman, Die Hard, Kenmore, have been sold off to others. They are retail ghosts, names we recognize on products made by companies that didn't exist when Sears was king. Sears didn't die because people stopped shopping. It died because it stopped caring about the shopper. It's a cautionary tale for every giant today, from Apple to Amazon. No one is too big to fail. If you or your parents used to shop at Sears, or if you remember getting that massive catalog in the mail, tell us your favorite memory in the comments. Is there any way Sears could have been saved? Let's talk about it below. And if you want more deep dives into the rise and fall of the world's biggest empires, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. You don't want to miss what we're uncovering next.